Kern County voters, there's a good chance you've met Heather, Haley, and I at events, or that you've seen our Brandon Martin for Judge campaign signs around town. And I hope you've already heard about our campaign's themes: protecting crime victims' rights, pushing back on excessive plea bargaining, and defending the greatest founding document the world has ever seen, the United States Constitution. I've met literally thousands of people over the last few months and talked about these subjects and, more generally, about what it means to be a consistently fair and impartial judge, which is the heart of my campaign and what I always wanted for my clients. I want you to know that I've grown from our conversations. And now that the County Elections Department has begun sending vote-by-mail ballots with my name on it, I want to take a moment to tell you a little more about my race to be the next judge serving on the Kern County Superior Court Bench, Office Number 10. This is a race to replace retiring Judge Sidney Chapin, who before joining the bench was a labor lawyer, handling transactional matters and a civil litigator. As a judge, Chapin handled one of the court's civil calendar departments for many, many years. I'm the only candidate in the race who has significant civil litigation and transactional experience. And what this means is that I've represented businesses and individuals. I've argued the law that governs their conflicts, and I know the stresses and urgencies, both inside and outside of the courtroom. I've seen judges who don't have this experience bring small businesses to their knees with crushing and unnecessarily burdensome discovery orders. And I've suffered with seriously injured clients who have waited years for justice. I know the pain points that can lead to settlement for different attorneys in different environments because I've practiced as a solo practitioner and in small, regional, and large international law firms. I'm the only candidate to have this experience, and with recently appointed and elected judges all being criminal practitioners exclusively, it is experience very much needed to provide balance and competency in the courthouse. To be clear, when I say significant civil litigation experience, I mean I've handled large, multi-party, multi-million-dollar complex civil litigation with record-setting results. The case I'm probably most proud of took 3 years of my life and had me traveling through 8 different counties, taking and defending dozens of depositions, arguing law in motion, dispositive motions, and writ practice. And I've represented clients in multi-billion-dollar transactions as well. I have courtroom experience both as a civil litigator and a transactional attorney, and much more recently as a judge pro tem appointed to hear cases by the presiding judge. I'm not a trial attorney, but I'm the only candidate in this race who has completed the training to serve on the bench, and the only candidate to have heard a matter in Superior Court. I also have unique experience in this race representing clients in areas which are particularly crucial for our community, but because of their complexity and ambiguity are harder to learn through training on the bench than common criminal practice. For instance, in the last couple of years, the matter with the largest potential impact on our community to work through our courthouse was the civil CEQA challenge to Kern's oil industry EIR, which had potentially billions of dollars in economic impact at stake. I'm the only candidate to have represented clients in CEQA matters, and I've done so on both sides. In order to better help my legal clients, I've become a licensed real estate broker and a certified project management professional, or PMP. As our region struggles through the disputes regarding the development of its land, I'll have the context from real-world experience to understand the ramifications of my rulings. Often the courts are the only effective check on disputes about how our government works or doesn't work. And that's all a fountain of often nebulous legal issues. It helps that I've worked as a chief of staff to a member of the Board of Supervisors and served on the Kern County Planning Commission, so I can understand the ramifications of my rulings as a judge in areas that are important to our liberty, like the Brown Act, election law, and Public Records Act, and the impact of so many other laws on how local government happens. One of the biggest challenges in our court system involves court administration. Kern County is literally the worst funded court in the state of California, so it's understandable that people would want someone with my policy and administrative background to help do more with less. Another way in which I can uniquely understand the ramification of rulings is that I've seen family members suffer as a result of violent crime. I've talked on the campaign trail about how my aunt was killed with a claw hammer and how I can still hear the sound of suffering in the voices of my own family. It's almost impossible to understand the ramifications until you or someone you love have experienced them. There are a number of factors that various groups look to in evaluating someone's suitability to serve as a judge. Judicial temperament, intelligence, ethics, courage and integrity, experience in education, suitability to workload, continuing legal education, ability to communicate, civic and professional health, and of course character. And all of them matter. I think I can make a case that I'm a strong candidate in all of these criteria. But I want to draw a distinction between my opponent and I in three of the most important areas. First, education. I graduated from UCLA summa cum laude and with departmental highest honors. I had an AM talk radio show in college called Law Talk, and I presented original research into jury instructions as a graduation speaker. I went on to study law at UC Berkeley School of Law, which is one of the nation's most selective law schools, and a nationally renowned training ground for judges. I like to joke that I was the only one wearing cowboy boots at Berkeley when everyone else was wearing Birkenstocks. Law school is where you learn to think like a lawyer, or like a judge. Some of the most esteemed members of the bench, all the way up to the Supreme Court, have trained their legal reasoning skills in the same manner I have. Although I don't always agree with those judges and their conclusions or philosophy of jurisprudence, I'm glad to be able to bring what I learned at one of the nation's finest judge factories to the Kern County Superior Court bench. Second, the ability to communicate effectively. My undergraduate degree was in communication studies. I've served as the editor-in-chief of our law firm Legal Publication. I've already undertaken time to study approaches to communication with defendants who are not represented by attorneys as a judge. Talking to attorneys is easy most of the time, but I've taken years to study how to make sure that I can communicate effectively when it isn't easy, and when people appearing before me are unsophisticated or unable to understand their rights and the results of their decisions. Third, character and ethics. From the beginning of our campaign, we have set a higher standard. No lawyer clubs or political machines. And I promise that if elected, I will immediately resign from any and all lawyer organizations or bar associations. Every lawyer and every party unrepresented by a lawyer will be shown equal respect in my courtroom. Even though my opponent is doing so, I will not seek endorsements or campaign contributions from attorneys who are likely to appear before me. In some cases, I've returned unsolicited contributions from attorneys. Even though my opponent is doing so, we will participate in no political machine. Many already know my political party affiliation, but because this is a nonpartisan race, I will accept no political party endorsement. Those appearing before me will never have any reason to wonder whether loyalty trading or political obligations will influence my rulings. As my friend Judge David Wolf said, it's about justice, not politics. Let me add that there's something else I bring to the table that isn't really essential in a good judge, but that I believe will be uniquely valuable. I'll be adding software development experience that is unmatched on our local bench. We've already seen relatively simple technological advancements like video conference arrangements save taxpayers millions of dollars. But there's much more potential, and I'm in a unique position to contribute. And finally, we will be honest. Truth is the foundation of justice, and honesty is critical to the character of the judge. Like the judge I seek to replace, and like so many other judges, including all but one judge sitting on the United States Supreme Court, I'm not a trial attorney. My opponent drastically exaggerates his jury trial experience, but we will rest on my actual accomplishments, both inside and outside the courtroom, because honesty is a more fundamental value in a judge. To my supporters, I also want to ask for your help in making our campaign's case to the voters in the right way. So here are the ground rules. No attack on my opponent's family, and no personal attacks on anyone. That doesn't mean we can't be assertive in making our case. If something is merely personally embarrassing to my opponent and doesn't go at all to his capacity and character to be a judge or to bias, just disregard it and move on, please. We can win on virtue, skill, and my experience representing clients both inside and outside the courtroom. And if I could choose a grounds for winning, it would be my authentic commitment to fairness for all. So here's what I will promise, which is what I always wanted in a judge for my clients. You have my word that I will apply the appropriate law to the evidence provided to me in a consistently fair and impartial manner, and I will never disregard the dignity of the people who appear before me in court. Thank you, and I humbly ask for your vote in the June 5th election.